So we're live. Welcome to Earful of Dirt. I'm Aaron Castro. You can find me at the Strobro. I am, as per usual, but not always, with the Poach at Poacher Rugby and Craig Rodelli at American RFC. So how's everyone's week going?
It's going pretty good. 10 p.m. here on the East Coast, so kind of exhausted right now, but always down to talk rugby with you guys.
Yeah, great week. I missed the show last week. Apologies, everyone. It was a busy but a successful week in my full-time job. But it was also a fantastic rugby weekend, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Did you guys see the what was it? The announcement. This was like not put out that well. The announcement by BC Place that I guess the rugby weekend isn't going to happen this year, and there's going to be a Halloween rugby weekend, an out of window test.
Home daddy rugby, baby.
Canada is stealing our out of window test match weekend thing and having it for themselves, but they're going to do it with whatchamadiddly. They're going to do it with the U.S. versus Canada in BC Place as a doubleheader. The other game is going to be New Zealand 15 versus the Fiji Warriors. So you'll get, Fiji versus a capture but not capped team. So I guess New Zealand wants to push their brand more, and instead of just the All Blacks and the New Zealand Maori going forth and spreading the gospel that is rugby from New Zealand, they are going to deploy 3 teams on tour. Oh, yes, 3 teams on
because
tour.
The rugby talent in New Zealand is just literally brimming over the edge of the cauldron right now.
Would all 3 of those teams be World Cup quarterfinals teams?
Oh, my. Man, they're good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they would advance it out of pool play, but
I think anytime you combine Halloween, by the way, with rugby, it's a great idea. I think the dress up drive for both of those things is well matched. So I like the idea of a Halloween test.
It fits very in with sort of the, I guess, since BC Place also hosts the sevens for whatchamadiddly, as it were. The sevens for Vancouver, they host Vancouver sevens. Then, it checks out, which I think is cool. It's on like the West Coast-ish, and now the time will change. I think the time changes like that weekend. So if I'm still in Arizona at that time, I'm coming back an hour. So we should.
Doesn't Arizona not do
yeah, but I'll tell you, like, because everyone else's time zone shifts, it changes everything for me. And like my deadlines shift and all the BS because, I operate 365 on 5 time zones apparently. And so there's that.
You're in like that Jeremy Bearimy spot.
So it feels great on Sunday. And then Monday hits you like a pile of bricks. Or I just had enough bourbon on Saturday that it just carried me through for a nice slumber.
I know the feeling. But anyway, that's what's going on in Canada, eh? What do you say we talk about MLR? And
I guess someone asked us, are you going to talk about the Marler thing? I guess here's my thing. Not really. What he did has an entry point of 12 weeks. Enjoy your 12 weeks, Joe. That's all I got to say.
You think he's going to get 12 weeks?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's got a disciplinary record. I don't think like the punishments after that are for like malicious intent. And
I think less than 12 weeks.
I'm pretty. He's going to get. I would say, depending on this is my thing. The entry point is 12 weeks. So could it get reduced? Probably. But he also went on Twitter after the citing. I'm pretty sure after the citing memo was issued. And that's when he said bollocks, complete bollocks. So I'm pretty sure he's going to get the 12 weeks. However, I did have other issues with that game. And I have issues with a lot of fighting going on at the international level. Like, why? Like, can we just – I know handbags, we've been about letting the boys play a bit, in general, but the amount of fighting that goes on in an international game is starting to annoy me. Especially in the Scotland game where the ref only carded one guy. Like that was a heavyweight title fight, man. Like there was
yeah. Well, I find fighting more. I mean, I don't know. To me, like throwing a punch in with intent to harm is worse than what Marler did. But I'm not on the citation committee, so
my biggest.
I agree with you, Craig. Like it's in rugby, especially in this new generation, a little bit of jersey grabbing and shoving is kind of one thing to to vent some frustration. But there's throwing punches and there's pushing and shoving, which is just plain immature.
Yeah, so this is, I guess, we're going a little bit deep into this. My perspective is there was a scuffle, and Marler is a ridiculous person, he's a character, and he responded to a ridiculous situation in a ridiculous way, and he will get punished for that because it was not correct, and we move on. My bigger thing is, so apparently MLR medical teams are way better than Tier 1 nation medical teams because I saw dudes get knocked the heck out, still play like an entire game in this one. Like Manu Tuilagi probably should have been pulled out of the game when he took Hadley Park's shoulder directly to his jaw. And then he ended up being in a high tackle where he didn't even contact the person but got a red card. And for some reason, there was no mitigation in his tackle somehow, but there was mitigation in the Hadley Parks tackle of him because the arms were up, but the arms never even got anywhere. It was a shoulder directly into a jaw. Like that's like
for those just listening, Aaron is demonstrating the tackle on the video now. So.
Okay, here we go. So there's Mike. Here's Hadley Parks. It went like this.
that little thud for our only audio listeners. That was Aaron patting his mic against his shoulder.
That was the representation. Interpretive.
That's 1/10. That's 1/10 of what the hit would have sounded like.
So I'm glad that our Major League Rugby medical teams take this stuff seriously, but. The biggest thing has been player welfare. Well, out of window tests in Wales, complaining about, having to play 5 weeks straight. You wouldn't have to play 5 weeks straight if you didn't have an out of window test because apparently the Six Nations game is being rescheduled for October or something like that, which will be strange. But crazy weekend at that level. Crazy weekend in Major League Rugby, but for way better reasons.
Yep, upset city, baby.
With teams scoring 22 points, to include the Raptors, who defeated the Toronto Arrows on Friday night, 22-19. Guess what? The Toronto Arrows are 19 points better than last year.
Good work, Toronto Arrows. Something tells me they're not going to be happy with that progress. Yeah, they're no longer undefeated, so that leaves only the Legion. Look, you guys tell me, is it just me, or I think Toronto, their median performance is top 2 in the league since even including last year. But they every fifth week, they just have a terrible week where they look completely beatable and they have nothing going. And it's a very bizarre, it's not often. And that kind of pulls down their average. But most games, they're very good, very consistent. And every once in a while, they just have one of these.
I mean, even this one, they were still in it. Considering they just, in a way, they got in their own head. And in a lot of ways, the Raptors just did their thing, which is something we hadn't seen for a while. We haven't seen the Raptors do this, really.
Well, I mean, we've seen them try. We've seen them try a lot of the stuff, opening it up out wide, particularly on the attack. But we've seen a lot of inconsistent play from the Raptors up until this point. There wasn't. Up until this point, there wasn't a whole lot of fluidity to the way that they were playing the attack. In this game, we kind of saw them start to operate on all cylinders, getting people involved, and I'm pretty sure Slade, Ryberg, and Cruze, they all had great games. Actually carrying the ball. There was a lot of disbursement. Throughout the back throughout the back row. Sorry. And a lot of people.
Taxes. John Ryberg, and 100 meters.
Well, I'll tell you what, all those people are the beneficiary of two Atamalipa wins.
I lied. John Ryberg only had 67, but he also had a try. So
yeah. So for the team, 588 total meters, average meters per pass 5.1, only 3.6 though for for the Toronto Arrows. So pretty patchy game for them on the attack.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, I think for me, the Arrows stayed in Atlanta and then flew to Colorado, depending on who you listen to. The old, hey, you need to get there 2 weeks in advance. But I think you can acclimate if you're a professional rugby team pretty harshly. If you just, for me, I don't know, like, what goes into every logistics move, but I know, having trained at altitude, what you need to do is you get there early enough, you train hard, and you get your VO2 max and everything used to that, and then you back it off. And this would have been a light week contact wise for what I would think. It was probably a light week contact week in Atlanta, but you get there and you do a lot of fitness so that you can get used to it, because they kind of ran out of gas in this game.
Well, I mean, coming from the humidity of the ATL to the crisp mountain air of Colorado is a pretty big discrepancy in terms of environment.
We're responding, by the way, to Doug Coyle on Facebook, who's observing the difficulties with the constant travel of Toronto. But yeah, I mean, I think that's true. Even forget the environment and acclimating. I think just being on planes all the time, never being in your home state, and that definitely wears on a team. It's just, that was also true last week. And, I guess every week you expect a little marginal worse, but they played much worse.
How many games did they went 4-4 last year on the road? Is that right? Yeah. And then they lost one at home. So they were
out at home.
One out at home? Was it? Did they win? No.
People were counting them out at one point last year. That's kind of like Craig said earlier. They always go through these dips in performance, and then they come right back up in terms of the playoff push.
Like when you're on the road for 5 weeks straight, and I think they stopped back in Toronto for a short stop a couple of weeks ago, like after Vegas, and then they flew out, and that's just tough. But if you can go on the road for 5 weeks and win 4, that sets you up pretty good. Yeah. But
that's a pretty tall ask though.
It is. If they win so if they go 5-3 or 6-2, no, I think they only have 7 games because they on the road straight, but they have a bye this week, and then I think they play 2 games, and then I think they have a game at home. So, if you split 5-2 your first 7 games, then that really sets you up for a homestand. And
they're well set up. To me, it's more a question of what happens if one of these down nights comes on the semifinals or whatever. I mean, they're so susceptible, it seems, to just having a really off day, which is surprising given how consistent they are most of the time.
Yeah, but what if they host the home semifinals and get that?
Yeah, I mean, that'll help. I'm trying to think if there was no real home games that they were off last year. So
yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to the fact that the cliche saying you can't win them all, and the Toronto Arrows, they found that out against Colorado. A broken clock is going to be right twice a day. I'm not saying Colorado is a broken clock. I'm just saying, its ticks are a little slow, a little slow at this point of the season.
I mean, they didn't. It's like
Atamalipa.
It's a 3-point. It was a 3-point game. They lost because because of some indiscipline in the wrong part of the pitch. probably would have been a tie, maybe. Like in the set piece, they were good. They won 100% of their scrums. They won 100% of their lineouts. They had 2 lineout steals. Their quick pull, their rucks, the turnover.
I believe Petzer had 12 points, 13 points.
He was 4 for 5 from penalties with 12 points. He missed both of his. Was it he or let me look? Someone missed some conversions. I think someone missed a conversion.
There was a lot of missed kicks this weekend. That's also a pretty underrated aspect of week 5.
That was strange. I think maybe the change in ball is. I want to see, because everyone knows the Gilbert ball is the top ball in the world, and I hope everyone knows by now that the Adidas ball is the worst big brand ball in the world.
It's got that almost squarish like headpiece. Like I've kicked with it before too. It's pretty awkward.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. So Petzer was the only one to kick. He missed 2 conversions and he made all penalties. So, good for there. But I think for the Raptors, this was important, getting that win, getting back-to-back wins at home to sort of settle them down with what they were doing. And it really reaffirmed their shift in attacking philosophy. They changed mid-season from a 2-4-2 to a 1-3-3-1, and like they'd installed a 2-4-2 attack after having played the 1-3-2-2. And they just played a hard game. They played some good defense. They played the ball position game, and they won a close one. And these are the kind of games that I think Toronto, because they're so disciplined, will win at home consistently. But after being 5 weeks on the road, they're probably going to drop one, right? So
yeah.
Probably,
Speaking of dropping games on the road, there's a team that I'm pretty familiar with that I think we're going to be talking about next. Had a habit of it.
Yeah. So
what happened week 1? How did they do that?
It's just because it's New York, man, and we're going to be better than you week in, week out, no matter what. If we lose every single player on our squad and we're just trotting out Sam Beard, 15-on-1, we will still come away with the victory because Boston better than you, baby.
I think it's clear that the Rugby United New York team was hitting the Vegas club scene a little too hard in week 1 because now you can't even. I was somewhat a believer in we're missing our big 3 from injury. But not this week. They were all back, and the result was, pretty consistent with the game since week 1.
You got to shake the rust off, man. So like I said, it was disappointing. As usual, despite the shortcomings in the kicking game, it really came down to turnovers and penalties that we gave Nola the extra chances that they got to put the Jacks out of this. The game itself kind of began on the wrong foot as well because it seemed like it took the Jacks like 15 minutes to even get their first clean attacking platform, and getting chances on the attack were actually pretty hard to come by all night. They managed a 61% territory rate while being north of 50% in overall possession. Which is even more disappointing when you consider some of the team's highlights for the Free Jacks. They included 2 unanswered tries to mount a comeback, some crazy entertaining tight window passing on the way to do that. So, you just wish you saw some more efficiency in terms of what this squad is capable of, throughout all 80 minutes. However, despite all that aforementioned crazy passing, the tries in the game, they really came down to each team's ability to pound it in from the 1 meter. I don't know if you guys saw, but 3 of these tries came, from multiple phase groupings inside of the 5 meter in this game. So, a lot of the forwards in this game showed their mettle in terms of their.
It was pretty high.
Ability to get it wide. You needed to be a versatile player in order to be competitive in this game.
Dino Waldron.
Dino, baby. Dino Waldron. But of course, Cam Dolan's still getting all the spotlight down there.
I look at this game and the way that they just set up. I mean, New England really, really was playing on the front foot a lot this game. I thought Leader and John Polon had a really good game. Like, oof. Man, he played very well. I think
John Poland is the man. Dude.
I think you're pretty much set at 9 with him. I think Lear, New England, like if you look at their score lines, they're a good team. Now, to get in the playoffs, what do they have to do? They have to win like 9. They probably have to win 9 games in the next 11. That's pretty.
We
tough.
have 5 of our final 7 is at home at Union Point, which we're pretty close to selling out on opening day. We're actually adding more seats at Union Point because the Chowder Brigade is growing and growing every single day. So I'd say there's a pretty distinct possibility for a home field advantage for the Free Jacks going forward. And especially, like you said, the big 3 is healthy once again with leader Harakiyama and Bodine Waka all coming back to the pitch, shaking the rust off. Don't discount 9 wins in this season.
And I will say they also have 5 bonus points, even though their record is not great. So I mean,
yeah, getting I guess 3 of our games now we got the 4 bonus.
I guess I used to say I hated bonus points. I'm sort of coming around to the idea of a points-based system as long as, if a team wins more games, they don't get discarded from the playoffs. And we didn't run into that last year. Thank God. We didn't. Mm-hmm. We didn't run in. I think wins need to be rewarded, period. But
you're becoming de-Americanized, I guess.
But I do like what the point system is doing, especially in the conference system right now where 5 teams in the East would still be second in the West.
Good.
Oh man, that's rough, man. But if you look at New Orleans, they just weren't playing classic front foot ball. Their lineout was kind of a mess. Good on New England for getting it done. But the biggest thing for both teams in the lineout was the humidity was actually pretty high, and that ball was wet and it was sloppy. I think the words I chatted to Nate Osborne, he said, the boys said it was like trying to play rugby with a wet bar of soap. So there you go. That's
I feel like every rugby coach says that at least 3 or 4 times a season. It's like trying to play with a wet bar of soap.
That's all you need to know. And,
it's like a dad joke, just with coaches.
I don't know it changed a lot when Holden Younger got onto the pitch. I think he kind of rallied the troops. But I thought Scott Gale did distribute the ball out of the breakdown pretty well, but his the pod setting up for on runners to go into contact for a hit up, they were just static. They weren't coming in at pace, which didn't allow NOLA to break the game line a lot in the first half, and that changed especially late in the second half when Holden Younger took over. I don't know, maybe Nate Osborne was like, "This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do," and they did it. Dino Waldron was very helpful. Just the defense in the second half for the Gold was better, and then they were ahead. But the ice on this game was that intercept try by Cam Dolan on his birthday, turning 31.
Classic Cam Dolan.
Turning 30, I believe.
Turning 30, yeah.
30? Oh, yeah. Man, adding a year to Camo's age. Yes, Cam Dolan turned 30, so good for him.
That intercept try was physically painful.
That was.
I felt it in my soul, which is a little bit below the rib. Yeah, I might have just been a cramp. I don't know.
So I think that win and the way they've had a tough schedule. Oh my, and the win was necessary for NOLA to get on the front foot, and we'll talk about the next matchup. I believe they go to the Raptors. Is that right? I need to look. I have it on here.
Before we went live, I had exited out of the schedule on a tab because I don't know why.
They go to Utah. Okay, so either way, they're going to altitude and they're playing another team that just won a game. So that'll be a cracker too. Really good game. But I think it'll take just another game for Leader and Poland to get bedded in together and get their tempo going. Because I think, on the off chance things were different, Timothy Guillemon might have provided, a better chance to win just because of the chemistry difference since Tag just came off injury. But this next game, I think everything will be in sync for New England, and it should be pretty good. But moving on to match 3,
the Texas Cup.
The Texas Cup, baby.
Part 1 of the Texas Cup.
Texas Cup. Hey, halftime was won by Houston, and Matt Burgess was chased down by a canine attack dog. So I guess Houston fans, you have that laurel to hang your hat upon, laurel to rest on, and hook to hang your hat upon. That's
not all we have.
Is that their CEO was run down by an attack dog? So but
this game was what was after I found the results of this game. That's when I just knew my Super Brew had gone to hell.
Yeah,
the Toronto game was like the foreboding, foreshadowing game, and then once this came in, I was like, all right, I'm getting the wooden spoon, baby.
It was really weird, this one, with how confident, talking to the Houston guys and then talking to the Gilgronis folks, and it was just like, so what are your thoughts on this week? I think we're going to be pretty good. And yeah, they were. Geez, like they didn't only 410 meters gained for them, but it was all in the right part of the pitch.
Exactly. But 739 from Houston, only 43% in the quick ball, less than 100 passes. That's a pretty large disparity in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but their previously awesome line out and their previously awesome scrum are starting to crumble. Not that the
but both teams less than 85
good.
Both teams less than 85% in every set piece.
Line out was any good, but the Gilgronis, man, they jackal in the ball, 3 breakdown steals at the right part of the pitch. That changes things.
They're bringing in the right talent. Austin is bringing in the right pieces, and the ownership change happened so close to the start of the season that I just don't think the impact has fully materialized. I think you're just starting to see it. So I think I'm optimistic, but I think, I'm almost starting to feel burned by the Texan teams in general, where I feel like every time optimism starts to gather, it's quickly snuffed.
Well, I did not give Austin. I said, Austin, you're gonna. So I picked against him. I was like, Austin, I'm not gonna. Unless you can't give me hope and then take it away. So I'm not gonna allow you to give me hope. And now they won, and so now we can, at first time in 22 months. So now we can say, hey, Austin's starting to work out, and a lot of these roster moves like Kurt Morath, Pele Crowley. I think even Will McGee were all really made before the ownership change. Oh. So this is more fruition, more fruits coming to bear from the previous owners. And
I assume McGee was because of the championship.
I'm guessing. With Will McGee, he probably, because of the championship funding was cut. Since he was a UK, he has an English passport, so I don't think he counts against the cap because he's English. But because he's a U.S. international, it kind of dampers his employability a little bit. And honestly, I thought McGee played better than Morath. Straight up. I thought they were better in the second half it's kind of sucked that Morath left the pitch when he did. But I thought Will McGee came on and his distribution was solid, and they just started scoring more points. And maybe part of that was the defense was better. And a lot of this, you could put it down with that senior leadership, just a better 9. Not to, go on Marcelo Torrealba, who is the Chilean international. Pele Crowley he's a stud. Yeah.
Well, we were saying earlier in the season even that Austin, player for player, they have a whole bunch of talent on this team, but I think we're just now starting to see that chemistry develop between them because, like you guys were saying, there was a lot of late additions to the roster after the ownership change that, granted the seeds were planted, like you said, Aaron, under the previous administration, I guess you could call them, but yeah, no, it's good to see. It's good to see them starting to put it all together. I still put their win cap though at around 3 or 4 wins because you can't have a first half like they did and be and be sustain a winning team
something to think
sustainably.
about, and this was both with Utah and Austin. I think I knew who the Austin coach was in like September, and they didn't announce it until he got here, which was smart. Like Utah announced Chris Latham, and both of them did not get on the ground until after Christmas. So that means half of their preseason was being installed by assistants. So I think we're finally starting to see the talent for both teams coalesce, but also the coaching roots dig into both teams. I mean, look at just the way both of these teams are playing. Austin obviously giving people hope a little bit last week. It's really good to see. I think that. So now watching this game, what is Austin's chances of going? I say we put the line at 2.5.
I think we did, but after this game, I'm capping it at 3 or 4 wins. I'm not saying they're a playoff
so 3.5.
team
We're going to move the line. We're going to move the line to 3.5.
Put me on over 3.5 for Austin.
So Houston, 3.5.
Let's see how this next weekend goes.
I'm gonna take over them too. I think there's too much. I think there's so much parity that I really feel like almost any team can win any match. So I think for anyone, I think the last place team is going to have at least 3 wins. So
I honestly, I think it's going to take another, at least another 3 games. So we've already passed the 25% mark for the season. I think it's going to take at least another 3 games to get to halfway before we have we can have realistic expectations about what the playoff field is going to look like.
Yeah, but we said Austin wasn't going to make the playoffs, and I'm
sticking by that.
We originally thought Houston would make the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
I think we were on the fence.
So number 3, the 3 seed was the fence. We didn't really have an idea.
Is Houston capable of making the playoffs? Absolutely. I wouldn't put it out of their reach with this roster.
I think talent-wise,
any team in the West can make it right now, right? I mean, there's San Diego, and then they in a dead tie for the bottom 5 after that. So
Santa Monica Dolphins out of the PRP are going to make the surprise appearance. They're going to be like a WWE star coming down the ramp.
And then Scott Murray resigns
exactly
as forwards coach and says, "I'm going to go coach my old team, the Santa Monica Dolphins."
Yep.
No, but
Austin's going to get relegated. In comes Santa Monica, man, and I'm all for it.
This one was just, it was kind of cool to see in a lot of ways, because the Gilgronis weren't disjointed at all in the second half. They played really well. You know who looked disjointed and looked a bit like they did last year?
H-Town.
And it looks so good the first couple weeks too. It's really.
It looks, whatever's going on. It looked like what went on last year. At least
bringing the
while I'm watching games, it looks exactly the same. Different people, same stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So
moving, I guess.
Let's talk about a team that is not so much of the same stuff as last year, but Seattle falling to the Utah Warriors, and everybody's upset of the week on Super Brew.
Oh my gosh, the word game. So all I gotta say is John Wayne Cullen.
JWC.
So he goes. They're in extra time at this point. They had.
What was it, like the 90th minute?
It was, I think,
give or take. Granted,
88. I think it was minute 88
that they scored. Yeah, but the penalty, the decision to go for the corner was like 81. They were down 3, and they said, "Nah, we're going for the win." And the next 9 minutes were a goal line battle.
So there was a bunch of questions.
You gotta take it with a grain of salt, though, because we all know that the officials' watch is never quite the same as what's on the board.
It's not. It's like, I think the clock on the television was like 92 minutes, but there were a lot of questions. It's like, why did he blow the whistle? Like, I don't know. There was a lot of questions online. about why it went into overtime. Well, as you all know, the game can't end on a penalty. Seattle turned the ball over on a penalty. They were still in regulation, and the Warriors somehow held onto the ball for 10 minutes without committing a penalty. And Seattle, let me look at this.
Discipline. That's just what you got to call discipline.
I don't know how you do that.
Utah got probably 5 penalties in that period.
So here you go. In like back to these were all back to back. So these were in past regulation. There were 6 penalties. Tucker not releasing or preventing release, whatever that means. Leonard's not
rolling away is what
Ilnicki collapsing the scrum. Leonard's a side entry on a ruck. Leonard's side entry on a maul. Jake Ilnicki offside. And so they you can't commit 6 penalties in extra time and be able to prevent a score. Because at one point there was going to be a penalty try.
Right.
I mean, Utah got a penalty try in this game.
Think about what it means in practice to have given up that many penalties in that time period. That means every minute and a half there was a goal line stand where Seattle committed a penalty, so Utah had advantage, but then Seattle stopped the goal line drive. So they came up with 5 or 6 game-saving stops in extra time. They just kept having to do it again and again and again. And finally, Utah got in the corner by someone who scored a try, which was unclear on the broadcast, or maybe Fisher.
I don't think so, actually. Doug Coyle says Seattle may be the most dangerous team to face right now. Rooney faces them Sunday, and it will be a battle. I would favor Rooney in that one. I like the converted try.
Honestly, I'm seeing Seattle falter in the biggest moments of the game. Like you said, committing the penalties in the extra time against Utah. Weeks 1 through 3 in the second half. They've also had a problem with penalties, and also there's a problem with slow play and inefficient play as well, just in terms of the passing game. They're not coming up in these crucial moments, despite the fact that their players are keeping them in the game to a realistic extent all the way through, until there's just that. I don't know. Is it a drop in fitness, or is it a problem with scheme?
I think some of this is scheme. We started to see them score. They scored 31 points. So offense is not their problem right now. They're offensively, they have figured it out. Their problem is defense. There are holes in the seawall. They're just not mentally there because they're committing penalties. And we could say, hey, maybe he didn't. I don't think this was the worst ref of the weekend by any chance. And in fact, if you had already committed repeated penalties, you already know that the ref is going to call those penalties against you, because you've already basically been warned by a whistle telling you that, you had committed a penalty. So they did not adjust to the referee in the second half, and they continued to commit penalties on defense, not on attack. They weren't really having issues on the attack. And then, they did enough. Tyler, the Warriors and their attack, Michael Baska, NOLA Gold alumnus, they decided to, try his wares in Utah. He had worked his way onto the bench, and then has subsequently, with Paul Tyvo going down, worked his way into a starting role. And as a distributor and as a ruck manager, I thought he played pretty well. And in fact, I'd say he was a big part of why they were in position to win. I know what the commentators are like, and that's Baska with the try. It was Tyler Fisher. I watched the sequence and zoomed in. I make sure I put it on my big screen, and so I could watch the sequence 10 times. And I was like, Baska's not even in the ruck.
I'll tell you that whole game, I felt the camera was very zoomed out. It was hard to see. God forbid something was happening on the far side of the pitch. was like, I cannot tell who's doing anything out there. There's Rob,
Well-
like, I don't know who's making the tackles.
That's a director thing. The director should have switched the cameras.
And
Well,
then-
I was just going to say though, if a director is unfamiliar with rugby, there's a lot of ball movement that they might find erratic. They think the flow of the game is going to be one thing, and next thing you know, it's something completely different. It's also hard to kind of communicate that with cameramen who might be unfamiliar with the sport, which is why you really should be hiring former ruggers to do this kind of job. There's plenty of them out there.
I think this isn't. I think that they just didn't press the right button to get the other camera angle, and it happened pretty fast. So, but however, Utah is starting to round out into form. They're playing better defense and they're scoring better. Is this going to be enough for them? I think they'll be okay. I think they can probably win 8 games. After that, it's coalescing to be better. And that's based on the Western Conference being the way it is right now.
Yeah. I mean, so they definitely have a chance. They're definitely getting better. Seattle's defense is still, no give me on a given week. And Utah was able to put up 860 total meters, 4.3 on the MPP. They also, I just want to say, is it, I'm so sorry. Is this Josh or John Whippy? I just wrote Jay Whippy in my.
Josh starting at left wing. Hey,
there we go. Yeah, Josh Whippy, 105 meters.
Your boy Craig is rounding out into form. He's coming back. He's coming back for his Eagles cap.
We'll say.
But his brother was also on the pitch. It's good to see that both Josh and Jared are starting to play better for the Warriors. And I think the last 2 games, no, Josh didn't play the last game, but his other game that he played, he had a pretty good shift as well. And this is a guy that, 3 years ago was basically going to be the guy at wing for us.
And then the double leg break of the Whippy brothers was just the worst succession of injuries that team could have had, especially given the seasons that they were they were kind of poised to make.
I think if they had both Jared and Josh in the first season, it would have been so much different.
They very well could have won that playoff game.
So, trivia question for you guys before we move on to the next game. What MLR team currently has the most points allowed?
It's Seattle, isn't it?
It is Seattle. The seawall, the veritable seawall, is getting up 162 points. Most league right
Damn.
What? 162 points.
I was going to say right now. What do you guys? Who do you guys think are the top 3 scoring teams in MLR?
So,
I'm looking at the stats right now. So,
top 3 scoring teams.
Yeah,
it is gonna be
in terms of average points per game. Sorry,
I think the Free Jacks are up there.
Free Jacks are up there.
Free Jacks are number 3. Toronto's number 2.
And San Diego.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. So scoring points matters in this game.
Seattle's getting up 32 points a game.
Jeez, that's just
all right. So moving on to a crucial Eastern Division matchup.
So Rick Meyer's question about what happened to Seattle, defense is just not there. It's not there.
Consistency in the second half too. Also not there.
All right, moving on to game 5, Atlanta versus DC. All right, guess who I'm a believer in. Believer. I'm a believer now. Guess who I'm a believer in?
Robertson.
Atlanta, because Justin Bieber has residency there. Why?
No. Oh glory. Robertson and Tusitala. Oof, man. They are the law firm of Robertson and Tusitala. They just they get it done.
I think they're maybe the biggest storyline of the season. Those two have been so good, and Old Glory is winning despite their scrum getting absolutely railroaded every week. Something we have not seen in the previous 2 years of MLR. A team that's getting abused.
So I did a comparative analysis with Pete Steinberg today. We were talking about the attack that was we haven't seen as like an effective attack like this. I don't think that Old Glory's attack was as good as the Glendale attack was last year in the first 5 weeks. The difference for both of those teams is the defense that they come with, and the defense that Old Glory comes with is led to 2 more wins rather than 2 losses. So, but it was like they are very similar. Like if you look at first 5 games statistically, knock-ons, turnovers conceded, the scrum for Glendale, even though I did not think that Glendale scrum would be that much better, but it was. So
I mean, Old Glory's scrum right now is coming in at 68%.
Although Craig,
I mean, the last two games, 80 and 86. So
it can't be true because they didn't have B. So
I was just going to say
2 games, 80 and 86%.
Yeah, 86%. Atlanta 83% in this game.
So,
in this game, yeah. I'm just saying, there's no way the last 2 games could have been that.
Last game they were 80%, which I thought was surprising because my eyes told me that they got destroyed.
I mean, they're getting the destroyed on the initial engagement, but at the same time, as we all know, the put-in rules on the scrum are a lot more favorable nowadays towards the team with possession, with initial possession at least.
Mats, are we gonna see a very tall son of yours in MLR? I'm seeing things on the gram.
Sorry for anybody who only listens to the audio version of this.
Matt Osberg said new Tusitala was going to make a difference after seeing him in Pro D2 a couple of years ago. His son, Christian Osberg, is in the Aurillac, I think, Stade Aurillacois Academy. I think I said that right.
Yeah. But anyway, DC 911 meters gained compared to ATL with only, just under 600 meters. That's some production that's kind of production that makes up for a bad scrum when you're actually moving the ball into territory, giving I need
to let me pull up some of these numbers for you guys to just
Declan O'Donnell 151 of those meters too.
So he had 15 carries. So basically I would say
every carry was just a line break. Consider it that.
He had 5 tackle breaks. So, all right, there were 178 passes. So, of those 178 passes, every 16th pass found Declan O'Donnell's hands. Think about that.
That's and they did it too with ATL, by luck, sort of by skill, just jumping out to a real quick lead. And I almost thought, man, this is going to crush a expansion team to get down so quickly at home, taking them completely out of the game, but didn't seem to phase them. They just fought right back, and they were winning by halftime.
So one of the things I looked at in this analysis of Old Glory, and in their win against Seattle, they had a 43% scrum rate. The last 3 games, 80%, 83%, 86%. So their scrum went from awful to manageable. But the important thing in this one is their quick ruck rate has been 60% or better in every game. Yeah. And in 4 of these games, so 60% against Seattle, but in 4 games, they've had a quick ruck rate of 69% or higher.
Nice.
Yeah. And Tusitala does it so well, too. It's not – some people are quick, but they seem to be quick for quick's sake. Like they want to get the ball and just pass it anywhere. But it feels like Tusitala is both quick, but he has an idea of where he's going with it, and he is strategic about it while also being that rapid. I think that is a big key to their success so far.
Doug Coyle says Declan O'Donnell is a 6'5" wing. 3 of those inches come from his mullet.
Mm-hmm. I think
hair. Considering I'm losing all of mine, that is fair.
It should definitely be pointed out. Also, Jameson Fa'ana Schultz and Dylan Takato Simpson also both north of 80 meters in this game. So a lot of a lot of give and take on the back line for Old Glory DC, and a lot of guys who the defense really just has to adjust for. But having those kind of guys with that kind of speed on the outside just sets them up to be able to beat that defensive shift and put them into position just to keep on pounding inside of their opponent's territory. So
one of the things, when I look at how efficient, I mean, even in that game where they lost, they still had a gain line percentage of 84%. And they had a quick ruck rate of 69%. So even though
they were moving the ball,
even though they got destroyed by NOLA, they can move the ball. Like this is so you talk about Tusitala and Robertson and their ability to find ball runners. They're making the gain line starting at their lowest gain line percentage was in this game was 74%. The last two games was 84%. Against Seattle, it was 75%, and their first game was 84%. So to compete against DC, you're going to need a scrum that is so dominant that you can get a penalty every single attacking scrum you have, and then you're going to have to make them collapse on their own scrums.
And you're just gonna have to work really hard in defense so that it takes more phases of that quick ball before they start creating attacking opportunities. It's almost like NOLA last year, where NOLA was they pushed it to a new limit of going wide. I felt last year at the beginning of the season, they would get the ball wide so quick, and teams had to adjust to that because they weren't spreading out and rotating fast enough to account for that. Now against DC, it's like, instead of width, it's a speed thing. That defense has to get up and into place even quicker than they've had to do against any other team in the MLR to date. And I think that's what they're going to have to do if they want to stop DC.
And when a team's that fast, it makes you a little bit more hesitant to commit more people into the breakdowns. So you're going to have less opportunities to try to get steals and force turnovers, for your own benefit against a team like that, because they're playing so fast and because you don't want to give up those spaces on the outside.
So, Liam, you're really about the meters per pass metric. So what is a good meters per pass metric for you?
So a good meters per pass metric I've been finding, and also the last 3 years I've noticed have been a little bit different. So this year it's about 5.3. If you're moving the ball decently, 6 to 7 meters per pass is pretty good. I've seen some teams go north of 10 and 12, but that's been pretty unusual. DC in this particular game, it was 911 meters gained in
5.12.
So that's a pretty exceptional rating. But if your team is around 5 to 6 meters per pass, that at least means that on a per pass basis you weren't so much moving laterally that you were gaining territory. But under 5 meters per pass, that just means there was a lot more lateral movement as opposed to forward movement in your passing game.
And then so this is their meters per pass over the past 5 games. 6.14, 5.94, 5.33, 5.57, 5.12. And now we're gonna so you think that that's pretty good for you?
Okay. Like I said, like 5.3 has been the MPP that I've been seeing the most for teams on average this season.
I'm just trying to make sure, because we had a question about this via Twitter, and we talked about it was about meters per pass metric. Is that a measure of offensive efficiency? And the answer is yes. I just didn't dig too deep into meters per pass like Liam does usually every week until today when I did a comparative analysis. So here's a good one. You asked me a couple weeks ago, you asked me about hit up efficiency. So hit up efficiency, meters gained over hit ups. They had 8.41 in their first game, 6.91 second game, 6.96 in their third. They have jumped up to 7.87 and then 7.23 meters per hit up in this game. So really, circle March 22nd on your calendar.
It's 2020. Who has an actual calendar anymore? I will mark it in my phone.
Okay,
if you want.
I will send you all a calendar invite for the DC versus San Diego game on March 22nd, because I think that's going to be exciting.
Me too. Though I will say two more things before we go with the next game. I am a big fan of what DC is doing. I will observe that I believe they have a negative point differential at this point. So, there's some warning signs in, I think they also may have a negative try differential. So there's some warning signs there. And I want to not neglect Atlanta either, who I think is also having a very strong season. They put a strong game. I love Momsen, the lock from Atlanta. I think that guy is an absolute animal. I think he's contributing in almost every element of rugby. He jumps and he's an effective lineout grabber. He's effective on defense. He carries the ball. He even has made some nice passes. He's a high work rate ruck guy. So I think he's been a monster and doesn't get enough attention. And I thought Ross Deacon's mustache was awesome.
Colin Maughan had a good game, 2 tries, really directing that line out and maul very well. I think my thing with Atlanta is that Scott Lawrence keeps rotating his squad. I want him to start and I know why he's doing that, because it's a long season. So if you get a bunch of guys minutes early, then they will know what they need to do when you need to rely on your bench. However, one thing I noticed with DC is their lineup is consistent. They only had 2 changes this week, and that's huge, right? So if Atlanta starts fielding a consistent lineup, I think things are going to change, but they also need to get disciplined, very disciplined, because that's why they lost this game. They just gave – they gave
18 turnovers
and a ton of shots on goal.
18 turnovers, a lot of those resulting from penalties.
So, to the final game, to rip Craig's heart out, New York loses 20-24.
Yeah,
close.
It was close. I mean, last year in the semifinals, I did pick New York to upset San Diego. First of all, New York beat San Diego in the opener last year in San Diego. They had the rematch for the semifinals. I picked New York. It looked really good. It looked really good. And the last minute, San Diego scored after a prolonged goal line drive. And that was a heartbreaker. And now this week, I thought maybe I was going to get my revenge where New York was down 4 and they were on the nonstop attack those last 10 minutes, pretty similar to the way Utah had that drive in extra time in Seattle. But it was not to be. They were not able to actually score the winner. So they lost. What can you do? A good effort. Then you still don't have Mon Nonu playing or JP Duplessis, so –
I think so. They didn't have this is like a B team, right? Or they don't have Nonu, they don't have JP Duplessis, they don't have Augsburger. Is this a B team? Because I mean, I think Owsley and Matias are enough. And Ferris is. I'll be honest. I was a detractor. Ferris is playing pretty well. Ferris is playing very well. In fact, it's like at least at the scrum half.
Ferris got wheels, baby.
I think Ferris is at least 70% of Nate Augsburger, maybe 80%.
Certainly complains to the ref very well. All you hear is his high pitched voice complains to the ref.
He's doing his job. I mean, they were San Diego. Jess was undisciplined in the first half. They went up 10-0, and then they just let New York do their thing, and
it was all scrums. I mean, agree with it or not, New York was getting penalties awarded to them.
New York got a penalty try on San Diego. I think the first penalty try in a scrum since midway through season 1, when everyone knows San Diego that one night went up to Seattle and gave up 3 penalty tries. And that was when the light bulb, that was when the fire was lit and things were shifted. And we got a dominant team last year that has led to a dominant team this year. But that penalty try, that was a little embarrassing.
Yeah. And maybe Rochford was boring in or not pushing straight. It seems like at
He
halftime,
did get a boring in penalty.
after this, as soon as the first
Not that one.
second half, the referee, it seemed like either someone clued him in or what have you. But that first scrum, the second half, it looked the exact same. But this time, San Diego got the penalty, and then you never saw that type of boring again. So, I don't want to get into referee calls. They were kind of erratic in this game.
This is so. I will say my only complaint about Mr. Wiener, Lex Wiener, the referee, is that he's like, who's coming off? Who's coming off? I mean, thank God that the doctor or AT for New York ran onto the pitch because Will Leonard was knocked the heck out and he tried to get back up and try to play. And she yanked his ass down to do an evaluation and play was still going. And it was very weird. And this is the one thing that kills me in rugby, whether it's club rugby or pro rugby, is if there's a dude knocked the heck out, within, let's say 20 meters of the play. He was within 20 meters of the play. Blow the whistle, call time.
Yeah. It was badass too. You heard her voice come over the TV where she said something like, actually, I'm a doctor and he needs to come off.
Yeah, it was
pretty cool. A little cheer in the
team. med teams.
Big shout out to every medical athletic trainer on every team.
Take charge and take care of your players, which they did. I mean, I had some in that Wales England game, not to really go off on a tangent, but Dan Bigger and George North probably shouldn't play rugby for the next 6 months because they were both knocked the heck out and they somehow continued playing. But in this game, New York did not take advantage of the penalties they had when they had them. And part of that, I think, is due to San Diego's defense in the second half. And it was just close. The score shows that it was close. It was a winnable game. And for New York, especially when they got up when they did. And the difference is you flip the coin and San Diego flipped. Do you think the big difference was the front row change?
No, I think the big difference was Furno.
Well, before we get to Josh Furno,
we couldn't get a line out past him, and you're saying that New York didn't take advantage of the penalty.
How many steals was it in the line out?
He had 2 steals, but I think you should probably credit him with 5 disruptions.
Yeah. So, I mean, they couldn't take advantage of the penalties because they were down by more than 3, and so they needed to go for a line out, but they couldn't secure a line out. So, it became it was a no-win situation, within the last 10 minutes when they didn't have time, or arguably they should have just taken the points because they couldn't win their own line out. But, it's hard to play that way, if you're going to just assume you can't take your own line out.
So how good do you and then the scrum changed, I thought, when Faco C. Piffletti and Aaron Mitchell both came onto the pitch. There was a big change. And
I think at halftime they told the ref hey, that watch the boring, because he just whistled it the first time and then the New York never had the advantage again.
Just stop committing penalties.
This game really was Rooney's opportunity to keep pace with Toronto and DC in the Eastern Conference standing. They just kind of fell short, and that's not to say they're out of anything either. But given Toronto's upset with Colorado, this could have been a prime week for them to pull off an upset in a weekend full of them. But
they got the losing bonus point, so
they did, but at the same time, I just feel this team isn't able to kind of keep up the same level of competition that they can do in the 15th minute of the match as they can do in the 80th minute of the match. And San Diego is a team that can do that, which is why they've been so successful, even when their depth is
right now.
Tested.
You just like we talked about how Toronto will have these will be even and then go like this. and then be even. I think that's a bit of what, like, when you talk to Greg McWilliams, I was like, I said you're playing well. He's like, no, we're just finding ways to win. And, a win here would have been big for them, and they would have been 4-1, and they would have been second place in the East. But now they're just third, but they're right there. They got the points. I would favor, we'll get to it, but I would favor them against Seattle this weekend. Like they played a tougher schedule, and they've won more games. So, I mean,
they're home.
They're at home. So, hey, Craig, you got to make sure all 2,000 MYRC club members are there.
Perhaps, but
that includes McCarthy's Old Stars.
Yeah,
the Old Stars. I love.
Make sure everybody's not just hold up at the pick and whistle that they're actually buying tickets. It's on you.
I love the name MYRC Old Stars. Like, are you sipped with the Old Stars? Because you're old enough now.
Old boys, I don't know. I played with the old boys back before. When I first joined the club, when I wasn't getting selected for D3. Old boys always take you, so I'm not a young chicken these days. I actually went and played center. I think McCarthy was fly half maybe, or I don't know. He was in there somewhere. It was fun.
Yeah. So, and then I guess we're gonna talk about our picks. That was awful.
And so Super Brew picks in here for courtesy, Aaron, even though I didn't pick on the show.
Yeah, I should have. I went 2-4 on Super Brew, but I think I went 1. So we all picked Toronto. That was a bad idea. I picked New Orleans here.
I picked Potato.
Liam likes Idaho. Also, Craig picked New Orleans here, and then we were all dumb enough to pick Houston. I mean, go Ags, good for them.
Like we said, the weekend of upsets.
So why? Oh wait, man, I was better. Oh, I suck. So much. So we all picked Seattle. That was a bad idea, apparently. Actually, no, they lost by 2 points. So that picking Seattle by a try. That's an okay pick, except Craig picked Seattle by 10.
All right,
we had 3 games where we
not great.
And then the game that just destroyed me because I went against this pick stupidly was DC's victory over ATL. I picked DC by 1. Liam picked Atlanta by 5, and Craig picked DC by 3. So I guess I would have been 3-3 if I stuck to these picks. Game 6, Seattle, San Diego -4, baby.
San Diego -2. Yeah.
I had New York -2.
Yeah. Well, sucks to suck.
You a few meters away from my victory lap here.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to Zions Bank Field Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. New Orleans travels to Utah on short rest. But Utah was tackled 233 times, so they're probably a little bit banged up. So, so what do you guys got? I think if they play front football the entire time and they play good defense, overall in their system, New Orleans is better by at least 3 points.
Yeah, I'm gonna go New Orleans -4 on this one, just with how their offense moves the ball, and I think Osborne is a offensive wizard.
Yeah, I think the East right now looks like the stronger conference. There's a home game in the East. Oh no, this is in Utah. Well,
Utah, man.
At altitude.
All right. I'm still going to take New Orleans. So New Orleans by 6.
Going big. Moving on to game 2. There are only 5 games this week. Thank you. But 3 of them are on Sunday. Houston travels to New England for the St. Patrick's Day Bash. And
get your tickets now because they're going very fast. We just added capacity at Union Point. Go to thefreejacks.com for more information.
I should get $5 for that. For a show.
Whatever. Hit up Owen.
Promo code for the ticket purchase screen.
Overall, I like New England in this one. I think they've just been playing tougher. They've had a harder schedule. This game was winnable against New Orleans, and like they were in it. And I might go big. New England -9, I think.
Yeah, baby.
I was outside looking at my lines when he says go big.
Double digits.
Picking this one. So yeah, I'm excited to see New England at home, to be honest, on St. Patrick's Day weekend. I think as Liam just indicated, you're talking about what seems like a capacity crowd. I think New England's gonna have a good one. I'm saying New England by 10.
Yep, and I am going potato on this one, but I think y'all know who I'd be picking.
Game 4, also at the same time, Colorado at DC.
You skipped game 3. What happened?
Game 3. Geez, why did I skip that? Game 3 on Sunday at 3 p.m. Seattle at New York.
Looks like we're pretty consistent on this one, according to the script.
Yeah, 3 picks for New York. I think Seattle's dangerous because I think they can score, but I also believe the way their defense is and with what New York has just gone up against, having had that 3-game winning streak against tough opponents, they won away in Atlanta, they won in Houston, and they won against New Orleans. That they are prepped and ready to go, and they're going to be hungry. And guess what? It's going to be Coney Island, and they're going to be fed by Nathan's Famous. New York -6.
I'm going New York -3. Climate change has obviously taken an effect on seawalls, both actual and sport related. So, and their defense is just sprouting way too many holes in that regard.
And we lost Liam. Pick New York, Pop Smoke. I'll take New York as well.
Where'd he go?
I'm sorry about that, guys. My internet just decided to crap out on me there for a second.
Right, so New York,
the Boston internet just kicked right out.
that was James Kennedy hacking into my system, man. But don't worry there, James. I'm going New York -3 in this game versus Seattle.
Yeah, I have bad memories last year when Seattle came to MCU, but this is also New York's home opener, so I think they will also benefit from that. And St. Patrick's Day is no small thing here either. So I'm going to say New York by 7.
Game 4, Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, Colorado at DC. Who do you guys have?
These are your clone teams from last year to this year, Aaron?
Yeah, pretty much.
DC -6. They're going to take it despite the deficiencies in the scrum. They're just able to get it out wide a little bit more consistently than Colorado, who, despite the fact that they were a little bit more put together this past week, still have some questionable deficiencies on moving the ball. So yeah.
Once again, I agree. I think of all the teams that's not going to punish Old Glory for their scrum shortcomings, Colorado is probably the least likely to be able to gain an advantage there. And it's in DC. And again, I just think the East, in a toss-up situation, I'm leaning towards the East right now. So I'm going to say DC by 8.
I think, Colorado really doesn't have their halfback pairing set and right now. And I think that's not really helping them in a lot of ways. They have weapons, but the weapons in DC are just better. So I'll go with the home team -7. And then the nightcap at 9 p.m. Eastern, we've got San Diego traveling to the Gilgronis.
I suspect we may end up with all the same picks here. I mean, come on. San Diego, it looks untouchable. Austin had a big win this week, but I don't see them following that up by taking down the last undefeated team.
I think they'll look respectable by scoring points, but I think they'll lose big too.
Yeah, I don't think we need to overthink this one a whole lot. I'm gonna go San Diego minus 18.
Interesting, Mats. Interesting.
Ags for the win, huh?
Interesting point.
Yeah, I'm taking San Diego minus 15. We'll go with like 30. Let's go with like 38-23.
Yeah, I'm taking San Diego by 12.
We didn't really get a lot of questions in. Or hang on, actually, don't make me lie. We did get questions on Facebook. We didn't get them on Twitter. So
Will Nola Gold make the playoffs? Coming from Carter DiMaggio. In this Eastern Division right now, that's pretty hard to say. Obviously, Nola's attack is pretty pretty poignant right now. Distinct possibility, but I'm also going to refer to what I said earlier in the show and saying that I don't think we're going to have a realistic view of what the playoffs could potentially be until the season's halfway point.
I think the playoffs in the East are tight. Like, I really don't know who's going to be in the playoffs. I think maybe I am, like, when it comes to DC, the way they're playing, I'm believing in DC. However, it is so tight. I have no idea. But in the West, it's San Diego and then two other people.
both conferences are very hard to predict the playoffs because they're all very tightly grouped. Just happens to be that East is very tightly grouped high and West is tightly grouped low. But distinguishing amongst them is still difficult. I don't think Nola's going to make the playoffs in the East, if you ask me right now. I mean, they certainly could. They're definitely going to be in the contest, but I think there are other teams in the East that have better tools.
Jeff Kennett is asking us, I know anything about the new Legion tight head Lua Lee?
Do you have a link? I haven't seen anything.
Nor have I.
He's played for the Blues in Super Rugby. I don't even know if he's with. Is he with the?
I haven't heard anything about him coming into camp, but
I'll ask around, Jeff. But I haven't heard anything about him. But he has at least one cap with the Blues in Super Rugby in 2019, so he's probably pretty good. Yeah. But the questions on you guys, like, I went in search of all these children, but
you went in search of all these children. Sorry, repeat yourself there, man.
No, like I
took evidence of this.
I had the one page with all of our questions pulled up, and I went and typed in that browser. Mistakes were made, as they said. Nicholas Sarabia, when will the league have TMO for every game?
When we have the money.
It's expensive, bro. It's, like, I am at this point, like, when it comes to TMO, I think it would be helpful, but the amount of money it costs for every game.
Honestly, I don't even care at all. We don't have TMO. I think
especially with the refs talking to each other a lot more this year, it's been better. I think in the first 2 years without TMO, they didn't talk to the ARs at all.
I mean, you watch, European rugby or Six Nations or whatever with these now nonstop TMO reviews, and everything is watched in slow motion from 100 degrees, and I feel like they're not getting better outcomes. Like, now you just have a weirder debate. It's like, well, his shoulder grazed his chin. Is this a 6-week red card or no penalty? I mean, I'm fine without a TMO. I could live without it for the rest of my days.
You say that until there's like a near try for New York in the playoffs or something like that, where whether or not the grounding is legitimate. Yeah, nobody likes extensive replays until it's in their favor.
Ball
take from a Patriots fan, man.
San Diego scrum, and they scored a try, and I'm quite confident TMO would have overturned that, but I'll take that try without the nonstop TMO reviews.
So Alex, I'm gonna butcher this. Rabbitchuk Since Austin had a tie with Utah and Utah beat Seattle, does it mean Austin is now better than Seattle? Transitive winning.
I mean, they're only one table spot apart in a quarter of the season.
We will find out very shortly.
Yeah, I mean, it's that question is almost asked in an ironic way, but I don't think it's out of the question they finish ahead of Seattle this year.
In the next 3 weeks, that could be a very legitimate question.
Yeah.
How awesome are the Utah Warriors? They're pretty awesome.
Awesome.
Waldrop. So Rick Meyer, is Seattle in trouble?
Yep.
No. Yeah. Because they're 1-4. I don't know. We don't really know what the playoff picture is in the West, but to get a 2 seed, they're going to need to win at least 11 games.
They're definitely not a bad team, but the hole that they've dug themselves in this early in the season is going to be pretty hard to climb out of.
And their biggest problem is they didn't get bonus points. If they had lost and won a bunch of bonus points, it would have been a lot better for them. We wouldn't be able to say, hey, this. However, it's, Mats Osberg asks, when will the league import Georgians so we can learns to scrum? I think importing Georgians that are uncapped and not in a French professional league is not really it's impossible, to be honest, with the way visa restrictions are going. If you're going to need professionals, and they're probably going to have to be capped by Georgia. That's the way this thing is going. So, yeah.
All right.
And we're out. Corey will do some fun stuff on the end, but we're happy to take your questions if you want them on the Facebook, at the Strobro on Twitter, at Earful of Dirt, at Poacher Rugby on Twitter, at American RFC. Oh, please leave us an iTunes review, glowingly with 5 stars, because it's been a while since we not since we got a rating, but since we got a review.
Also, since the Eastern Division, our home games are about to start, make sure you guys are tagging us on any pictures, videos, or thoughts you have of the games going on over the weekend. We would love to hear them. You might even get a repost, a retweet, and a shout-out. Also, if you want to sponsor the show, please do that too.
Yeah, hit us in the DMs on that one.
Yeah.